Hey everyone, and welcome to episode 61 of the Revive Yourself podcast. Here we go.
Are you sick and tired of being sick and tired? Have you got a health issue that just won't go away no matter what you try? Then welcome to the Revive Yourself podcast, where we reveal the secrets to long-lasting health by getting to the root cause of problems that no one else is talking about. So you can have more energy, clear skin, healthier hair, a leaner physique, more confidence, and most importantly, do the things you love and live the life you deserve. Here's your host, Ryan Martin.
So guys, welcome back to the Revive Yourself podcast. Hope you're all doing really well. It's great, and just love to bring you these episodes, and been getting some fabulous feedback still from some of the ones in the past with Warren and Paul, and then with Dr. Holick and with Scott, and we've just got some great episodes out, and I just love bringing you this information, and today's going to be no different. Just before we get on to that, as always, going to be putting some things on our site. Also, we've got our free 4-day gut revival mini course. It's really just a health, any chronic issue. It can help you with whatever you're dealing with, skin issue, gut issue, thyroid issue, brain fog, fatigue, diabetes, whatever it is, that's going to help. And if you need a more individualized approach, because that's just going to cover the basics, then head on over to www.reviveyourself.co and click the contact link and fill out the form, and we'll be in contact as soon as we can to see if and how we can help you. But on to today's episode. So today we're going to be talking all about water and water filtration systems with Graham Brebner from Aquatiere, www.aquatiere.co.uk, and that's AQUATIERE. Bit of a strange name, but it's all good. And we'll be going into water filtration systems, why it's so important to have your water pure, why chlorine and fluoride aren't the answer, and really why his filtration systems are the best on the market. It's why Graham is his company is the people I use for my own house, a whole house filtration system, and we're just going to navigate a few of these different products, because on his site is lots of different products, and people might be wondering what's best for them, what one should they buy, why should they buy this one over that one, what does hydrogen rich water mean, as well as a few other products he's got on the website, and what one he uses, etc. And I've actually got together with Graham. I will be having the two whole health filtration systems on my website, because it's going to be really important that you just buy them, click straight on the website and bang, because I think it's really important, as well as a few other things I'll be getting on my site soon, because I want to give you guys access to the best, and with as we go into in the show, the water's so key. We're at 90% water, and you don't want to be putting toxic, poisonous water in your body, which is something we go into in the show. So without further ado, here's Graham. Enjoy the show, guys, and I'll see you on the other side. How you going today, Graham?
Yes, I'm good, thank you. Thank you very much. And you?
Yeah, really good. It's a little bit. Yeah, it's not the brightest day. It's a little bit overcast here. I mean, you're down in Kent, right?
No, I'm in Dorset.
Oh, Dorset.
Yeah, I'm on the water. So although I'm looking out the front of my building, at the back there's just the harbour, which is really lovely. And it's overcast, but it's nice to see the water.
Yeah, nice view. Yeah, I'm actually quite lucky as well. I look out on quite a few fields, which is really nice. But ready for a bit more sun, ready for spring to really kick in now. We've had enough of this rain, this weather, but hopefully it's meant to be looking a bit better over the next couple of weeks, which will be good. So Graham, here's to talk about water filtration systems and Aquatiere and everything really, because there's lots of questions. I mean, your website is really interesting to go around. There's quite a lot of information to take in, but just quickly, Graham, what's your background and why did you get into creating these water filtration systems?
Right. Well, my background actually was with the MOD years ago, and really I was a designer. I was a draftsman for the MOD, and we used to do a lot of work on military stuff, and from that I began to think, well, there are ways that we can improve on things like water treatment. One of the real reasons that I got involved in water treatment is because my biggest hobby for most of my life was judo. And I got the opportunity to go to Japan. And when I was there, I was introduced to a particular granular ceramic that was used to keep the koi carp ponds free of algae and keep the water clear, so that they were very large lakes. And obviously the visitors wanted to see through the water to see the koi, and they also wanted to keep the koi free of disease. So they developed these particular ceramics. They were called wakimisu in Japan, and that meant spring water. And I simply brought some back with me. I was interested in looking at a way of treating water that didn't involve any chemicals, particularly when we look at water softening using salt and other things. And I bought these ceramics back. I put them in originally into some stainless steel tubes, and I sold them to people who had problems with eczema, particularly child eczema. And the first customer was my bank manager, and he had a little boy with eczema. We put it on his system, and after about 2 or 3 weeks, the boy began to recover. And this was an eczema that was bad enough to need special clothing, and obviously they couldn't bathe in a normal way. Well, from that point on, I started to develop shower filters and whole house filters that actually worked in that respect. It was killing bacteria that caused the eczema flare-ups. But alongside it, I found that there was a demand for water purification, because as time has gone on, people have become much more intolerant to chlorine and other chemicals in the water. It's been a progressive issue because I think the water treatment companies have added more and more of the chemical types because of the water quality diminishing and the cost of treating water. So along the way, I simply designed water filters that I believe are better than most, because most people who make a water filter are simply trying to create a product that has a value in the market. And they want to be able to sell it at a reasonable price so people buy a lot. Our attitude is, I'm trying to produce the best. So we have the best quality of carbon filtration. We have the particular ceramics that balance the pH. We have additional material in there that doesn't only stop scale forming and building on surfaces, but more importantly, that extra material we use takes out heavy metals, it takes out nitrates. We can take fluoride out, which most filters can't. So it's getting to a level where we're looking at protecting people, but also to a degree now, the premises they live in and the environment they live in. Because again, if you're in a shower and you're showering in water that's full of chlorine or fluoride, it's in the air. So the whole air and the whole place becomes sort of contaminated by this in the form of chlorine gas, which is pretty unpleasant. So when we take all that out, you get a better environment, and that affects everything. It affects your immune system, your lungs, your skin, and really that's what I've been trying to develop over the years.
Yeah. Gone to quite a few things I'd like to touch on there. That was a really good opening answer. With the shower, I think it's like the mist that's created from the shower. You ingest 7 times more through that mist than you would do even with like the actual shower being taking place. Goes straight through it into your internal organs as well. So, I mean, lots to go on there. I mean, all these chemicals they put in the water, like chlorine, we'll go into that. But with these ceramics, how do they actually take the chemicals out or keep the water clean? Like, what is it they do?
Right. Well, they're a bed. There are a lot of tiny little spheres, if you like. Mm-hmm. So you've got a fairly large bed with a massive surface area. Now, they operate in 2 ways. One is absorption. But then they can convert. So they can convert chlorine to chloride. Now, the absorption process is only a very small part of how it works. On the surface are dissimilar metals, and dissimilar metals are alkali. So you can have let's go on to its complicated periodic scale, where you've got a very high current, if you like, a mineral, and then a low one. So you've got, let's say, lead to silver. Mm-hmm. The two metals, when they are placed in water, react, and they create a very minute electrical current. It's about 0.03 milliamps. Now, that's ionization. So you're actually surface active. So you've got a massive area that's surface active. So the ionization will change the water. Well, the way the water is, it changes the water molecules. It makes it easier to absorb. But more importantly, that kills bacteria. Now, the absorption process, and we have a number of different ceramics, so it's an overall comment I'm making. Some completely absorb. One of the ceramics particularly has 1,000 times more potential to absorb chlorine than carbon. Right. But either way, when we look at the basic technology, we've got an active surface that can kill bacteria, and we've got an absorption situation that can convert chlorine to chloride. It can actually absorb fluoride. And so the water quality changes. From all this activity, you get a pH balance, and the pH tends to move slightly towards the alkaline from the acid, which again the body prefers.
Cool. And so with this, I mean, this ceramic, I mean, it doesn't ever wear out, or if you've got it for a little while, it doesn't have a certain amount that it can only change or convert, or is it just something that it will do forever?
It won't do it forever, because if you imagine these tiny beads, the method we use is to flow the water from the bottom up. And so the beads are always moving, which is what the energy is created by. And they will wear. So at the end of the day, and they can also absorb too much. So we give them, on average, it appears that we get a 3-year life out of the size of bed, the volume of bed that we make within the cartridge. And so on the ceramics, that's how we work. 3 years is enough, and it works for that period of time.
Cool. I mean, you mentioned as well things like X-melt, and we'll get into that. And chlorine. I mean, things like chlorine. Why would? Because I want to get into your systems, because I know that I've referred people to you as well, and I just want people to understand the difference between certain ones and what we're doing here. But why would they? Pretty simply, I've got my own opinion on this, but why would they use things like chlorine and fluoride in the water to sort of treat it and make it quote unquote healthier for us, when they could be using things like maybe enzymes, or they could be using your technology? Well,
the first thing is, when water's treated in an industrial sense for our drinking water purposes, they have to put something in it that is going to stay in it while it's in the underground pipework. Now, chlorine's been used for a long, long time, because at that time it was the only solution they had. I mean, chlorine was a breakthrough many years ago, when water was very dangerous to drink and everybody drank other things, including beer and wine and whatever they could get. Now, the point about chlorine is it can be dosed in fairly small amounts and create the protection that's required. What's happened over the years, of course, is that, we've become aware that chlorine is actually quite a dangerous substance. And science still hasn't really proven that it doesn't build up in the body, which it could well do. But we do know that chlorine reacts with soaps and other things that we use in showers and other stuff, and becomes carcinogenic. So we know it's a fairly dangerous substance, but what's the alternative? Now, the companies have moved over from chlorine to other types of, like chloramine and other types of treatment. But whatever they're doing, you see, they have to kill the bacteria. Now, bacteria are living beings, and so the side effect, I'm afraid, will have an effect on us in the long term, if not in the short term. Fluoride, well, there's a big debate about this, but it does appear that they're actually putting it in the water to actually get rid of it in a legal way. In America, there's been cases where, they have to pay to dump it. Now, at the end of the day, I have my feelings about this, and it's a very political subject. But I personally do not believe fluoride should ever be added to water.
Don't worry, we're okay with that. We go into this sort of thing in the show. You say what you want; it's not a problem. We're just like the truth, Graham. That's it. Like, it doesn't matter. It's a controversial subject. People don't like to touch on things, but it's the truth. I mean, fluoride is one of the most poisonous enzymes known to man. You know, it lowers IQ. I mean, it's a minute. I've had Dr. Kennedy on here. I'm gonna have I've got him lined up anyway. Talk about fluoride. Fluoride is, I mean, it comes in containers with skull and crossbones on, saying poisonous in any amount.
Yes.
And yet instead of giving you individual doses like they would a doctor would give you for medication, they just put it in the water, and everyone's got one dose that no one can say I want this much or that much in your water. And with same with chlorine. I mean, we're going to swimming pools, but chlorine, you know, it's turning all the male fish into female fish, and even though they say the active enzyme's dead once it's gone through some of their systems. These bacteria, these fungi in the water, have done tests on this. They actually reactivate the enzymes, which is why the male fish have been turned to female fish, etc. So, I mean, don't worry, Graham. If you just speak your truth, and whatever happens, we always say we're not giving anyone advice. We're just discussing stuff, and so it's no problem.
There is something I will say, and that is that we have had in the past some very high-profile stables who have race horses, and they're convinced that colic is caused by fluoride in the water, and we've actually had to treat certain areas of stables to remove the fluoride, and I've seen the damage this can do. So, yeah, it's unfortunate that people disregard people's health, and it's all to do with money.
Just on that, yeah, it is all to do with money. Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you. I was going to say, anyone who's there's a few documentaries on YouTube. In fact, give me a shout, and I'll point in their direction. But fluoridosis as well. You've seen in different countries where the people are actually struggling to walk, to move, what it's doing to them. And you see it because America's worse than us. You know, a lot of states in America have got it. And you can see people's teeth with the fluoridosis, where they literally looks like all their enamel's gone. It's a real big problem. People talk about calcifying the pineal gland, which is meant to be our third eye, our place where intuition comes from, etc. So, I mean, and the funny thing is, please antidotal saying it, but you know, how much evidence do you need? If you've seen it with your eyes, I've seen it taken out of people's diets, the difference it's had as well, and their lifestyle. And so people don't realise it's not just when we talk about the water filtration, you know, it's not just like the cups of tea you're making or whatever it is in home. It's you're brushing your teeth in this every day. You're showering in this every day. You know, you're washing your clothes in this every day, and you're cooking your food in it every day. So it all builds up, right?
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. And it's already in toothpaste. So, I mean, we've probably got more than enough.
Not in my toothpaste, it's not. I make sure it's not in my toothpaste. And that's why we're looking into these things. So, this is why we're talking. So, when we're looking at this, Graham, because you've got quite a lot of different devices, lots of different, I'd say probably our devices, I suppose, on your website. And you talk about hydrogen-rich water. You've got certain UV lights that kill in bacteria. You've got whole house filtration systems, water softeners, etc. So just why would because for a lot of my clients, for example, I point them in your direction, and I'm going to have something on my website because you're the guys that I use, you're the guys that I trust. I mean, having gone through it, I have one of your systems on my own house. You know, I wouldn't ever tell someone to do something I wouldn't do myself. I think it's hugely important. You know, we're 90% water, and if you're ingesting water that's not clean, it's going to be a big problem later on down the line. And people say, well, I'm okay, look, nothing's happened to me, I'm 50. It's like, yeah, but what are you going to be like when you're 55? You know,
we're all living longer, aren't we?
Yeah, well, this is the thing, you know, and I say to people, it's just because it hasn't happened yet doesn't mean it's not happened. And you've got a very strong constitution, but the analogy I always like to use is if you keep on blowing up a balloon, one day it will eventually burst.
Yes.
And this is something that you're in contact with constantly. So you talked about the bacteria, taking out the bacteria, helping with eczema stuff. So just for the people out there, you know, you've got water softeners. Okay, and you've got whole house filtration systems. Why would someone get a water softener and not a whole house filtration system? Or does the whole house filtration system soften the water as well? What for someone out there? What would be the best bet? Because you've got, I've written them all down as well. You've got you've got the Green Planet Eco Water Softener and Filter range. You've got the Eco Pro Whole House Water Filter range, and the Puro Saltless Water Softener and Filter range. And they're the whole house ones, yeah. So, I mean, why would someone? What one would be best for people? Or, I mean, yeah, and why would someone choose that one over the other ones? Go ahead.
Okay. Well, the Green Planet softeners, we've actually decided to discontinue because they use salt. And one of our sort of ethos has been that, we're not going to pollute the water any more than it already has been. And we're not going to put the water table at risk either. So we've only really got a choice now between the Puro, which is a product that basically controls scale and acts as a saltless water softener. And we've got the Eco Pure, which is they're both a whole house, but this is a whole house water filter, which has basically a better filtration system within it. Now, the two products stand really very clearly together. The Eco Pure is for people who don't have hard water. So in other words, if they don't live in a hard water area and they're not concerned about scale, but they obviously hopefully have some minerals in the water, which is good for them, then they'd go for the Eco Pure. Now, the Eco Pure has a carbon filter choice on it, which means that they can, in fact, use a Fiberdine cartridge within it, which not only kills bacteria, but it also removes the small plastic particles that are being found in water and things. So this is quite an expensive filter. It's about £100, but it lasts a year, this particular carbon filter. So on the Eco Pure, we have a facility and a potential to produce really, really good quality pure water for the whole house. Hence the Eco Pure. Now, on the Puro system, it's very similar to the Eco Pure, but it doesn't have the carbon removal potential, because it's for people who have, if you like, standard hard water, and a lot of the country is suffering from that, but we want to leave the minerals in as well for drinking water purposes. So the Puro basically creates a wonderful water to drink, but there's a third cartridge on it that acts as an ion exchange resin cartridge, as you would have in a water softener. But rather than add salt to it to exchange it for the minerals, we simply replace the cartridge every 3 months. Now, that cartridge is also capable of removing heavy metals, lead, and copper and other things. So it's horses for courses. The majority of the products we sell are Puro. We do have a following for the Eco Pure, but it's in the softer water areas, or if they've already got a water softener. Although there are people out there who want to keep their water softener, they can use the Puro alongside it, which is quite popular now. Not the Puro, sorry, the Eco Pure alongside it. The other aspect of all this is the hydrogen. Now, we offer hydrogen in both of our systems. Hydrogen in water has been developed really over the last 15 years, started in Japan. And it has been proven to help with molecular issues. It does certainly help with swelling. It helps with inflammation. It certainly can help diabetics. So what we've done is we've developed another ceramic, really. It's a magnesium-coated sphere, just like the other ones that we put in the bed. And so we can produce levels of hydrogen within the water. They're very low levels because obviously this is a whole house system, so you're getting it, it's within your environment. But it's great for the atmosphere. As well as your body, and it's great for drinking. So, and both products have that option.
Right. So, if, for example, if someone calls up, it depends on if they have hard or soft water. What one would you say? Because you've got other things in there as well that you can maybe add to us. But if you, for example, what one do you use in your house?
I would use the Puro.
Yeah, and so, but the Eco Pure is I don't know, not your gold standard, but it's if you have got if you've got soft water in your house.
It's not only that. It could be that you've already got a water softener and you want to put something alongside it.
Right.
But it's if you have a real chemical intolerance.
Right. Okay.
And there are people out there who have problems, who have, we believe anyway, and they believe they have a chemical intolerance and they react badly to chemicals. That would be the product I would put in.
Right, okay.
But I have to say, 70% of the time, people take the Puro because it's still of a standard that is better than most and does the job.
Yeah, and you said there sometimes you got to change the cartridge every three months.
On the Puro, you've got 3 cartridges. You've got the first cartridge, which is a carbon cartridge. That's a 12-monthly change. Mm-hmm. You've got the central cartridge, which is the ceramics, the spheres, the bed, the Ceramet bed. That's 3 yearly. And then the ion exchange cartridge, which is the one on the end, is 3 monthly. And we do that simply because within 3 months on the systems that we've designed, they need replacing. People don't have to do it, but obviously the scale build up or the minerals in the water increase. And people really make their own decisions. But at 3 monthly changes, it works very well.
Cool. And for the larger, just bigger, smaller systems, okay, so you've got, depending, you said one for 2 bathroom houses, 4 bathroom houses, etc. Is that just because of the amount of, obviously I'm saying not the size of the house, the amount of water being used? How long do you say they would last? So if it's 2 bathroom house, 4 bathroom house. I think the one I got was, I think it was even bigger than that. I think speaking to you, you said it would last a hotel maybe like 4 or 5 years. So it would be like maybe 10 years for us. I don't know, or maybe 7 years or whatever it is. But is it just because of the amount of volume being passed through?
Yes, their literage. The 1 bedroom one or the 1 bathroom one, is 20 litres a minute.
Right.
The 2 bathroom one is 40 litres a minute, and the 3 to 4 is 80 to 100 litres a minute. And so that's the point. And we even do tandem versions. So if you imagine you have 2 sets, one back to back, we can treat literally a 6 or 7 bathroom property without any problem.
Oh, awesome. And so, okay, so people, I hope that's cleared up quite a few things for people there. They don't understand what one to get. So, you've got actually one of the things it said, I think it was in your site I was reading, but these filters, so these filtration systems, I'm going to go into a few of the other ones as well. So these filtration systems, they go onto the mains, they go into the mains of your house. Yeah. So literally every single tap in your house is treated. Every water that comes out of everything is treated. It's fine. So right. From your shower, so why would someone get just a shower filter rather than the whole house? Would it just be for money, or would it be because maybe they live in a flat and they can't do it?
There are issues here. We found that most people that ask the landlords have no objection to somebody putting a filter onto their incoming main. They wouldn't possibly have an objection to having a water softener fitted because there's a lot more plumbing work to do. But we do find people who are in temporary rental accommodation, particularly younger women who tend to suffer when they've moved from one country to another, either for study or work, who get a skin reaction, and we've seen a lot of this. And so they take the shower filter. They can take a shower filter. We also do little bath filters as well that you drop in the bath. And most people, we've been doing this for 20 years. And on Amazon, I think at one stage, we had over 24,000 customers buying shower filters. So it works. We've reduced our range of shower filters now. Unfortunately, the Chinese are now selling directly into Amazon from China, and so we can't compete with price, even though our quality, I believe, is better. So we stick to what we believe to be the best products now, which are really the whole house filters. And where people are lucky enough to be able to install such a thing, they're changing the whole environment of the house, and I think that's important.
No, that is hugely important. I always say to people, environment's everything. So, it's a weird one. But what they could use is in swimming pools, couldn't they?
They could use a what?
In swimming pools.
Yes, yeah. The ceramics can easily be used in swimming pools. Again, it's an experience I've had. My older children are now 30 and 25, but we used to have a swimming pool in the New Forest. And you have skimmer baskets around the outside of the swimming pool on the surface. and I used to put the ceramics in the skimmer baskets. And we were always amazed because we hardly ever put chlorine dosing in the pool, and it always remained crystal clear. I mean, I had children, so we did put chlorine in, but the truth is it does work in many ways to treat many environments. Also, of course, just people who do keep fish, koi ponds and things, when they use the top up, they can use this system to top up their ponds without, it'll actually help the fish. It will help with disease and all sorts. So there's many benefits.
Yeah. I mean, rather than chlorine now, I mean, they've got enzymes they can use. There's loads of different things. I mean, I think in the Olympic pool they use enzymes instead of in Olympic pool in the Olympic Centre in Leighton. I think they use enzymes rather than chlorine because, I mean, one of the swimming pools are one of the most, people wonder why they get problems in pools, but one of the most, it's like a toxic soup. They're one of the most toxic places in the world, but you can use certain enzymes to bind and get rid of these bacteria. And if you're one of them, it's just, I think because chlorine's cheap, or maybe it's just ease, or just we've always done it this way, so we keep on doing it. But it's very rarely the best way. So one of the other things you've got in your site is these filtration systems can't be connected to copper. Is that correct?
Yes, the reason for that is simple. Because we use ion exchange resins, and where it says these filtration systems can't be connected to copper, it's only actually the Puro, and that uses ion exchange resins. The reason is that ion exchange resins have a preference for three things. One is basically calcium, one is magnesium, and the other is copper. So if you have copper within the vicinity of the unit, then the ion exchange resin grabs the copper, goes green, and stops working. And it's fairly instant.
It's like overload, yeah. Yeah, cool. And so if someone does have the copper, what would they have to do?
Well, all they do is they cut the copper back about a metre if they possibly can. But even if they can just bridge the copper with a piece of plastic pipe, then it's fine. Cool.
Because I just want to try and get all the questions that maybe someone would have, just so they can understand what to do. Because otherwise it's like, because I mean, obviously some of this technology as well, it's quite highbrow. I mean, it's very interesting, and just trying to break it all down so people can sort of understand. And because I do want people to just leave and be, oh, okay, that's fair enough. It's quite simple to do it, etc. So. The other things you've got as well are you've got Legionella control, which I'm guessing is Legionnaire's disease.
Correct.
Okay.
Yeah.
So we're getting to this, but you've also got the home and commercial ultraviolet disinfection system. Now we're going to the Legionella control. Can you put these in conjunction with your other whole house filtration systems, or do they usually stand alone, or how is that used?
Well, I mean, we'll go to the Legionella protection first.
Yeah.
That's specifically designed really for people who've got cold water storage tanks still in their homes. There's a lot of them. And we found over the years that when people seem to think they get Legionella in whatever form when they're on holiday, but it's not the truth. What happens is they leave their house and they up the storage tank in the loft. While they're away during the summer months, the loft space gets very warm and they're not using the water, so there's no flow. So Legionella bacteria can develop in the cold water storage tank. And then as soon as they get home, the first thing people tend to do after a flight is have a drink of water. And then a week later, they get symptoms of some sort or another. Luckily, often just a pneumonia or flu-like symptom, not pneumonia, a flu-like symptom, which can be traced back to the Legionella bug. There are more than one form of Legionella. The serogroup 1 is the dangerous one. There are serogroup 2, there's many others. So at the end of the day, we make a little tube that you can drop into the tank that protects the family from bugs that can grow in these. And that would be used alongside our particular products, the Puro or the EcoPure. The UV lights are basically designed for people who've got well water. So they're using groundwater.
Right.
And so we would always recommend, although we can kill bacteria, there is certainly a duty of care for people who live in a home, well, even to their family, but certainly to people who rent out properties who have groundwater. And so we would recommend a UV as well as our system in those cases.
And that just kills basically
kills the bacteria. It'll kill many bacteria. I mean, the most prevalent bacteria that comes from groundwater is E. coli. And you get quite a lot of E. coli and cryptosporidium on runoff water. So it's basically from feces, from cow feces and things. So if you get a runoff water from a field that's affecting the borehole, then you would need something like a UV light. It's not something we sell very much of. People tend to have groundwater in Ireland more than anywhere else. But it does exist.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, it does, and it's just making sure that everyone sort of understands the products and what they've got. You've also you've got the nano membrane filter from bacteria and hardness removal.
Yeah, well, that's aimed really more for the light commercial industry.
Okay,
it's aimed for commercial kitchens and places like that where they need to have a quality of water. But it doesn't take all the minerals out, but it's more designed for that environment where they want great quality water for steam ovens and generally cooking and things like that. Okay. Unless you're an avid semi-professional cook at home, it's probably better to go for the other products.
Cool. And so I don't know. So when people talk about obviously water purity as well, people always talk about distilled water, and they say, and there's a big debate about that. I mean, I've got my opinion on it, which is, you can distill water, but it takes all the minerals out. And in fact, if you drink it for too long, it will actually start to pull minerals out of your body. And so people need to remineralise that water. But what's different between your filter? Because people ask the question, what's different between your water and a water distiller, for example? And also, do you know much about a Berkeley filter?
Yes. The Berkeley filter basically is a compressed ceramic filter. They call them candle filters.
Right.
And they basically...
I was just saying, they show on something, I think they show like taking pond water and turning it into pure water.
Yeah, I mean, the Berkeley filters are designed for bacterial protection and turbidity. Right. So if you take the glaze off a toilet,
right,
basically that's what you've got. You've got a very, very dense ceramic that water will pass through, and it will take out turbidity, it'll take out colour, and it'll take out bacteria. And it will make a fairly pure water. Mm-hmm. I wouldn't suggest it tasted very nice, but then we'd have to see. Mm-hmm. It depends what the source is. The difference between, and we'll go to distilled water. I think the first comment I'll make is water in its natural state is a living thing. You know, it's something that has energy. It's something that actually creates a better environment within your body. So to distill water is basically killing it. The water, when it then enters your body when you drink it, is going to find any way of trying to revitalize itself or rejuvenate itself. And so it will take out the key minerals from you. It's going to go for zinc. It's going to go for magnesium. Basically, it's going to react in a negative way. And in many ways, water also has that ability to be either positive or negative. RO water is very similar. If you have a reverse osmosis system, if you buy a reverse osmosis system, it's imperative really to get a remineralization filter, which they do sell with them. Because otherwise, although initially you'll think, oh, I feel great because it's probably taking the toxins out, in the end, it's going to be taking everything out and you'll suffer. Mm-hmm. So our product doesn't take all, even the Puro, where we're trying to remove the potential for scale forming, we don't take all the minerals out. We leave in the minerals that matter. We need calcium, we need magnesium, we need zinc, we certainly need a number of other particular enzymes and minerals. I mean, selenium we can bring into the situation from the ceramics. And so what we're trying to do is produce water that is alive. Yeah.
Yeah.
Not dead.
So it's alive, not dead, and pure. I mean, and so, yeah, because, I mean, they're the ones who always get asked about, reverse osmosis, the Berkeley filter, and distilled water. And so, I always say, this is the thing. And it is a big topics around that people have their own opinions, but I always say, like, you're basically reverse osmosis. You're basically killing the water. So you do need to same as distilled, you need to remineralize it. The Berkeley filter, obviously you're going to say yes, but would you, I mean, are your products, are they different or just better than these? I say better, but like, I mean, if you said to someone, forget, I mean, obviously you're the owner of your company, but I mean, is there any reason someone would get one of those over your product?
Well, the Berkeley filter is a gravity filter.
Right.
It was. That's how it was originally invented. So you pour water in it and it comes out the bottom. It was designed for relief areas.
Right. Yeah. Relief areas. Yeah.
Yeah. If you lived in a flat and you had no way of plumbing anything in, then we'd probably get a Berkeley filter. There are nowadays, though, filters direct from Japan and China, which has got the ceramics in that you can pour water in. But the Berkeley filter it's improving on the health of the water that you're going to drink. It's not trying to bring the water back to the state that it's comfortable in, if you understand me, and so it's beneficial. That's the difference.
Yeah, cool. And so, have you got anything else you're working on at the moment?
Well, I mean, we're always continually trying to develop different medias. And at the end of the day, things are changing along the way. I mean, the first thing that we really started to develop more intensely has been the hydrogen side.
Right.
We've been looking at water flasks, but as a company, we're also looking at a way of having refill stations put around the country where people can actually take their existing plastic bottles that they've bought from the supermarkets and things and have refill points where they can drop them off and we're going to fill them and then they go off again, saving the plastic and, saving the money. This is a project that we're looking at the moment, which is very much in its infancy, but we've got some interest from the local councils and things. So that's our next project, but it's all to do with water again and our water.
Yeah, just go back to the hydrogen, because I know I've spoken to you a little bit about this before. You're saying you're trying to do more things with the hydrogen in the water. What else can you develop there for people?
Well, at the end of the day, at the moment, we do a hydrogenated shower filter, and we do the hydrogen whole house filter. But there are potentials for creating shower cubicles. They make steam rooms and cubicles nowadays, and we were wondering whether we could develop that element of the business. Now, it's early days, but if we could create a hydrogen element within the steam, then that's going to actually get into the body as rapidly as if you ingested it or if you drank it. So, we think that could be a benefit to people with other ailments.
So with the extra hydrogen, is it making it? I'm trying to think. What sort of? It's not making it H2O, is it? It's making it what HH2O. I mean,
this is a problem. Chemically, there's probably no such thing.
Right.
As potentially another hydrogen molecule.
Yeah.
So one of the reasons they talk about the active hydrogen or molecular hydrogen is that it's purely got more potential hydrogen than a standard H2O molecule.
Right.
Now, what we've also got to remember, though, when we look at it in that context, is that, hydrogen as a gas is the most common gas anyway in the world. And a lot of people think it's actually depleted by other elements that are now in our atmosphere that weren't there many years ago. So I think it's just trying again to create a balance. Maybe we're having to use a material to do that, but it's creating a balance that may well have been there.
Yeah, I mean, and are you seeing? Is there anything are you seeing any other things that are put in the water now apart from chlorine and fluoride that wasn't there? I mean, are there things you're having to look into bringing anything more into your products to try and extract stuff? What's changing in the way there? What's going on with the water?
Well, water treatment is very stagnant. There isn't any sort of a development in water treatment apart from the fact that I think people are slowly but surely trying to move away from chlorine. But the options are, you're talking about enzymes. We know there can be other bacteria treatments of certainly wastewater. But at the moment, I can't see any change in the infrastructure because it's a massive industry. and to change that industry and to affect, in fact, the people that even supply the chlorine to that industry, I think would be a really hard thing to do.
Okay, fair. And so, go for it, sorry.
Yeah, unfortunately.
Yeah. I mean, so yeah, it is unfortunate, but this is why getting your water sorted out, because I always say to people, look, when we're human, so no one's perfect, no one's going to be perfect, and so really it comes down to damage limitation, because and when you're going through a healing process, because the reason I got into this, when I started, I was ill, I had big problems, 5 years, I used to get really bad, I started off with acne, and it got worse, I got keloid scarring, really bad cysts, with all the medication they gave me, steroids and drugs, it completely lowered my immune system, etc., and I was in a bit of a pickle, as to say, but 5 years later, I was just like, if this is what life's going to be like, I don't really want to be here, so I got into this, and this is the thing, because people always just talk about food, or they talk about, generally it's like nutrition, but when you're looking at something holistically, you've got to look at everything, because we've got, it used to be 80,000, I think we've got over like 100,000 industrial toxins in the air, right? And then you're looking, if you're not buying organic food, you've got all these pesticides, herbicides, larvicides, fungicides, rodenticides, chemical fertilizer in your food. Then you're looking at the Wi-Fi we're dealing with, and then you look about all the stuff people put on their skin, generally with the cosmetics, full of parabens, SLSs, things that are endocrine disruptors, and you can go on, and this is why I say to people, it's really important that you don't just look at, because the food's a big part of it, but I mean, if your water's not right, and you're in that every day, showering, brushing your teeth, washing your clothes, etc., it's going to be a problem, and you need to look at the bigger picture, and we say damage limitation. Now, one of the things we like to say is the best solution for pollution is dilution. Yeah.
That's true.
Yeah. So I mean, if your water, because if you're just putting more water in your body and it's more toxic and it's causing more problems, the human body is amazing. It can live on cardboard only for so long, but it can. But you want to be putting the purest water in your body possible, because you can cleanse it that way. It's really important. And I say to people, it's not just looking at certain aspects. It's having an overview of it, and I always say that I'm like an air traffic controller, trying to look at different things, and water's a huge part of it. It's the only thing that, apart from oxygen, that we can't live without. I think it's like over 100 billion chemical reactions in the body every second are going on with water, so it's so important. And so this I also touch on this as well, Graham, with your water, and so for example, I mean, I'm sure you can test this as well. I mean, this is not, because we're not sitting here saying, your water's the best in the universe, whatever, because, I mean, it's going to be up there because of what you're doing with it. But if people can, you're looking at spring water or mineral water, and then your water, yeah, where would it rank?
Well, it's very interesting, because if we're talking about bottled water,
something like Highland Spring. I know it's all different, because bottled water there is all different.
You're hitting on a nerve now.
Go for it.
Highland Spring isn't made in the Highlands,
right?
It's made in, I think it's made in Speyside or somewhere. But anyway, when you look,
is it good water?
Pardon?
Is it good water?
Reasonable, but it's not Highland. The point about Scottish water is it's one of the purest waters on earth, and I don't like people who misinform people. But anyway, Highland Spring basically contains a lot of minerals and other things that you wouldn't necessarily want in your water. And the thing is, with spring water and other waters, they're not really truly tested, put it that way. But there was a recent report from America, which I read, which said that 95% of bottled water contained bacteria, and over 99% contained plastic minuscule particles. So, for a start, I wouldn't buy bottled water because of the plastic waste and the real damage it's doing to the world. But more importantly, I wouldn't buy bottled water because, frankly, if you leave water long enough from the tap, so chlorine and everything else dissolves from it, and you're not particularly worried about heavy metal poisoning and everything else, it's better than the bottled water anyway.
All right. Is that is that going to get plastic? What about if it's glass bottled?
It really doesn't matter. I mean, the way that the water's created and made, I can only speak on spring water basis that they are getting it from a spring, but they do have to treat it more often than not because it's a groundwater source. It's not always perfect in that respect. But if it's a table water, which is quite often in a bottle, that is purely mains water that's been treated with an RO unit. And when you look at the mineral and the content, it's been re-added. I mean, it's fairly false.
Yeah, it's like basically when they say in the cereal packet, they say, we've added vitamins, whatever, fortified vitamin synthetic. It's like it's funny, the cereal, you can go on YouTube and look at this, the iron. You see iron particles, like little particles in the cereal packets, but it's like they kill it all and then they try and add it back with synthetics, correct?
Yes.
So you're not actually getting the pure minerals?
No, I mean, you will find certain water, and unfortunately there's waters which, like Vital and Badois, which are actually quite good waters, but they only used to do them in glass bottles. They're quite high in sodium, which some people don't like either, so it's down to you. But they started doing them in plastic bottles. So again, my reaction is they've got to stop.
Yeah, so I'm going to get into this because this is interesting. I think it was in America once. I think Fiji was, the water company that bottled Fiji water.
Yes, I do know them. Yeah.
And they were saying that our water's purer than, I can't remember where it was. Was it in Flint or something? They were saying like that water's purer than yours. And the guys from the area in America went and tested their water against a bottle of Fiji, and they found that their water from the tap was actually much purer than the Fiji water.
Well, there's a lot of hype about the waters of the world. Fiji's one of them, and I do actually know one of the directors of Fiji Water. But other ones, like a Japanese water, there's a Japanese water that comes in a little tiny black bottle that's about £76 for a half a litre. And they all talk about it coming from, under the ocean, all these weird things that they talk about. But the bottom line is, it doesn't matter where it comes from. It's down to its quality. And 9 times out of 10, if you did a complete analysis on the bottled water, if it's completely pure, it's not good for you. That's the point. And most of it isn't. That's a fact.
If it's completely pure, it wouldn't be good for you because it's too high in mineral content.
No, it's too low in mineral content.
Too low in mineral content.
Yeah.
Right.
We look at the lowest mineral content. In Scotland particularly, they use their low mineral water because they make things in a distillery. So, you get your very best whiskey, your very best this, that, and the other from low mineral content, but it's never no mineral content.
Right.
Because it creates the product.
So when they're saying high in spring, they're saying it's from an organic spring, they actually are adding in their own minerals as well.
Well, I can't make that statement, but I think
in your educated opinion,
we'll let our viewers decide.
Okay. So out of all the but say people are out and they need some water, and you've got your general water brands on the shelf, things like Evian, Volvic, High Spring, Voss. What about before that? What about Voss? Is Voss?
I've heard of Voss. I've seen the big glass bottle.
So it's a good bottle.
Yeah, not one I've tried.
Okay, the Norwegian from the Norwegian glaciers, apparently.
It makes you wonder, doesn't it, why you would spend that much money on a bottle of water and then create such havoc, even with a glass bottle, having it recycled.
Well, it's all for image, I suppose. It's so if you were out and you needed some water and you were in a supermarket, for example. If you couldn't get to, because there are websites, people out there are websites where you can find your actual local spring. I don't know how pure that water would be.
Well, yeah, there are. It's funny. There's a new move to again reduce plastic bottle waste, where you can find your own water tap. There are companies out there and individuals who will offer you an option to fill your water bottle.
Yeah.
We're approaching them slowly because we're saying, well, it's all very well, but they don't really want just tap water. That's not really greatly beneficial. So we're looking at the filtration element in that as well. Maybe have water points. But if I go into a supermarket, and I was desperate for a drink of water, I would find it very difficult to actually not just forget the fact I'm desperate for a drink of water.
Yeah.
But I have actually never, and this is a fact, bought bottled water in my life.
Really?
Yeah.
So you've kept yours. You take yours out with you.
Well, I drink beer.
Right. I see what you're saying. Yeah.
But otherwise, I drink water from home.
Yeah.
I mean, to be honest.
But if you did have to, what brand would you, or what brand? What one would you go for?
Badwa. I'd always go for Badwa or something similar.
Badwa.
Yeah.
I think I've seen Badwa. Have I seen Badwa?
It's a French brand. It tastes. I mean, when I say I've never bought bottled water, I've tasted bottled water because I've done some projects on it. But I wouldn't just buy it for the sake of it. It's called Badwa, which is B-A-D-O-I-T.
O-I-T. Got you.
And to me, because it's high end.
Oh, okay, yeah, Badwa. Yeah, got
it's
you.
really quite pleasant.
Right, yeah.
But again, they've gone the wrong way again because they're doing it in plastic
bottles. Yeah, everything's plastic bottles, and that's the thing. Okay, Badwa. And out of, for example, Volvic, Evian, etc. I've always, when it's through my research, Evian's generally been seen as quite a pure water compared to the others. Would you agree with that?
Well, yeah. Again, it sounds awful. It sounds like I'm an alcoholic, but I used to brew beer,
right?
And Evian is quite close to the sort of water you'd use, which you would then Burtonise. So, in other words, it is a good quality water, quite low in minerals. And again, though, one always questions how they get to that. It's very hard. From my point of view, and I'm not a specialist in making bottled water, don't get me wrong.
But you're a water sort of specialist.
Yes, kind of specialist in water. Is, how they get it from the spring without any contamination. It's got to come out through something. It's got to come out through a pipe. It's got to go into a bottle, which has already been made, and there's going to be contaminant. So it's an interesting journey. And they
wouldn't let you in to have a look, do you reckon?
No, I doubt it.
No, yeah. It's interesting. Evian have recently been bought, well, not recently, but have they been bought by Nestle? So I think they've been bought by Nestle, so it always worries me when things like that are happening. I haven't tested their quality water, but I mean, Nestle, Evian's always one. But yeah, if you're being bought by these big conglomerates that are generally not doing much for the world apart from depleting it of everything, that's a bit of a worry. But yeah, okay, so we're going for, but just generally Evian or Badwa. This is for people out there, because I know I will get the question, well, what would you buy in the supermarket, Ryan? And I generally have always gone for Highland Spring because organic, and when I've looked at it and talked to them, they've always assured me that it's pretty pure, but it's interesting. I can only go so far with my research because they won't let me in there. So it's interesting to do that. So I might be changing there, but it's weird because Highland Spring, you can get it in glass bottles, whereas everything else is stored in plastic, apart from Voss, and that's like £3.20 a bottle. But otherwise, best option. What I usually do anyway is, because you've got the filtration system that you have, I always just fill up my bottles of water from home, and I drink it. I mean, I sometimes add some Himalayan rock salt in there, just adding minerals. You say that's good?
Yes, yeah. I mean, but certainly the natural rock salts are really good. If you put them in your diet, I would put them on my food, so can't drink it. Yeah. But I think going back to the mineral water, I mean, because I travel quite a bit, and you think about the water in the hotels and everything. And again, it's something I try and avoid. They say you can drink the water, and then they offered you bottled water.
I always go bottled water when I'm abroad. I never go tap.
Yeah, I mean, it is a difficult one. I drink a lot of tea, and I drink quite a bit of coffee. A bit bad for me, I'm pretty sure, but obviously there's water in it. But maybe that's, from my point of view, a safer way of consuming it, unless I get it from a properly filtered source.
Yeah, organic coffee, I hope.
Yes. Oh, of course. Yeah, the difference in flavour. Wonderful.
And the difference in chemicals. It's just something like what they spray on them. Coffee. No, I get. Yeah, it's a tough one. So all you can really do is, always say, damage limitation. You simply make the best choice as possible. Like, no one's ever going to be perfect, but if your house is filtered, and your all the food you're consuming, the water you're drinking, the tea you're drinking, your clothes are being washed, the water you're cleaning your teeth with is pure as it can possibly be, you're going to be lowering your toxic threshold. I mean, a hell of a lot, you know. And then that's about looking at someone's food quality or things they put on their skin, etc., etc. Yeah, I mean, the Wi-Fi and everything. So it's just really important just for people to know. So I think, anything else you'd like to add, Graham? Because I know we've covered it quite a bit, and I will try and get you back on if you develop anything, and we can talk about other people got other questions. Yeah. It'd be great to get you back on. It's because it's really important for people, you know, because I'm going to be putting Graham's filtration systems on my website. I'm going to be selling them because people always come to me and I always have to direct them to Graham. So it'd be easy just to put things on my website so you can buy from me. And then and I always say, guys, like, you know, my logo, the Revive logo is my fingerprint. It's my seal of approval. I wouldn't ever suggest you to buy anything or sell anything that I wouldn't take myself or give to my family, because, you know, integrity is everything to me, and that's why I've got Graham on here, so you can actually talk to the man behind it himself. I mean, anything you'd like to add? Well,
I think the main thing to think about is that if you look at, I know it sounds weird, but I'm a plumber at heart. That's what from the development of the products and actually getting it, you know, my hands dirty and going out and fitting them and doing many other different things in that respect, is that what we do from a central heating point of view, and it's very similar to the boiler, is every few years we flush it through. So you have something called a power flush. Now, if we're trying to clean the body, what we need to do is we all accept that we have a level of hydration and we have a level of water within our system. And I don't think most people realize that particular water will stay in your system for a considerably longer period of time than is actually probably naturally right, unless you give it something that it prefers. So if we go back to the RO water and we go back to the waters that aren't necessarily the best in the world to drink, the water isn't going to exchange, the body isn't going to exchange its hydration, its content, for something that's no better. But it will exchange it. And remembering the brain contains an awful lot of water, it will exchange it for something that it feels is more beneficial. So the more you drink reasonable quality or great quality water, the more chance you have of just completely detoxifying the system. But it's not a fact that if you simply drink water from any source that it's going to be beneficial, because in some cases it isn't.
Yeah, of course. I mean, you've seen some of this. I think it's actually the Fluoride documentary. They go into how it's affecting things in the ponds, and people need to understand, like, it's a big issue. This is why it's really important. And all we can do is, by buying organic, by getting your house, all we can do is affect you. And if everyone affects themselves, then slowly but surely we make change. And it might be one person at a time, but it is happening, because it's hard to go out there and to make big changes with these companies, etc. But if we all have one of these filtration systems on our house, for example, then the water quality we're getting it's also not only that, it's the water quality you're putting back into the system, right? Because when people are weeing their drugs into, I mean, it's people don't understand, like, they're not just having the fluoride and the chlorine. Then everyone, all the drugs that you're taking, where do you reckon that goes? It goes from your urine straight back into the water.
Yeah, we have a problem, don't we, with hormones in the water? Mm-hmm. We know that. We have other problems with, I mean, simply one of my biggest bugbears is the water softeners that are stopping crops growing around the world now, hence they're being banned. But when you think about it, when you're basically creating a machine that, for your benefit, that stops you having to do any work in the house, i.e. rub any surfaces or clean anything, is then polluting the water with sodium, which is the hardest thing to remove. So the water boards and all the centres out there that are spending time trying to treat the water don't only have to put chlorine in it, but they have to put it through a reverse osmosis system, which actually wastes more of that water, which becomes more of a contaminant, and I don't know where that goes, and that's even more frightening, and it just gets worse and worse.
These people, they're almost like, it's amazing how stupid smart people can be, right? Because it's, for example, here's another one. It's very similar to this. It's almost similar to this, yeah. When they feed into, people will talk about cattle, and people don't understand. If you're eating an animal that's been mistreated and fed poison, then you're eating it. What do you think's happening to you? You're eating a dead, diseased animal. For example, it turns into you. Everything you ingest, it turns into you. It's what people say, you killed an animal. Well, no, I didn't. I actually improved its level of consciousness because I ate it and it turned into me. We get another conversation. But, for example, a lot of these places, instead of feeding the cows grass, which they're meant to eat, they're herbivores. Yeah, they feed them corn, or corn or some sort of, in America they can feed them whatever, rendered food, plastic pellets, petroleum, and in this country they're feeding things they're not legally allowed to feed us. And then they're around their feces and they get ill. So instead of, and then these animals get infections, then they get lots of E. coli, etc. And instead of feeding the cow grass, which in 2 weeks will get rid of basically all these bacteria infections, 80% plus. Instead of doing that, the easy way that nature would do, what they do is they go, oh, okay, we'll just spray the crops, the feed with chemicals that gets rid of these things, and then they spray the meat with ammonia to get rid of it. And it's like, why don't you just get it at source and just get the cows to eat grass? It's like this. It's like this. So why wouldn't you go to the source and make sure that you just do it here, rather than thinking to treat it at the root? This is what we do. For example, for me, I don't just throw, like doctors throw pills at people to get a pill for every ill just to mask symptoms. It's like, well, then you need another pill, and then you need something else when it gets stronger, and then they develop another intolerance or another side effect. You need another pill, rather than just going, well, we get rid of all that and we go to the root cause of it. And this is what I don't understand with this. Like, why don't you just get rid of all that, get to the root cause? And it's because obviously these people have invested interest in this. There's lots of like money exchanging hands, that people lose money, and unfortunately we live in a capitalist society, and this is a big problem. But slowly but surely, the only thing we can do is vote with our pounds or dollars or whatever it is we're around the world, yen or euros, whatever you are around the world. The more you do things to make your area better and the purer, then they're going to listen, because money talks. Just quickly for that, Graham, as well. When someone buys one of your systems, so they buy it, comes to their house, then they ring up their plumber, and their plumber installs it for them. Will most plumbers know how to do it?
Right. Yeah. We're only manufacturers, but we have found a number of plumbers. What we tend to do is, if a customer wants a plumber, they ring the local plumbers merchants.
Okay. And
you'll find they'll recommend plumbers who've either fitted our products in the past or are used to fitting softeners or filters, and that's the best way forward.
Perfect. Okay, mate. Awesome. Anything else you want to add, Graham?
Well, no. I mean, just to cover the point you've just made, and I'll make it brief. There was a report very recently about the human body is only 43% human, and the rest of it's full basically of different types of bacteria and animals, let's just say. And what you've just stated is, and it's to do with the water as well, is that the majority of the cells in the animals in the human body that aren't human completely and utterly affect the way we live our lives and how we feel and our energy levels and everything else. So, so much goes into what we eat and what we drink. And although my background's water, and I have a real passion for good quality water, foods is equally important. And how you cook your food and what you cook it in is equally important. And how you grow it. So all these things, I think, are linked.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, I always talk to my guys. I think my research, it said there were 100 trillion cells, and 90% of them, 90 trillion, are actually bacteria. So we're far more bacteria than we are water. So, and I always say to people, when these things are, a lot of people I deal with, they've got a gut dyssymbiosis, or they've got a problem where, they've got imbalanced microbiome. So these bacteria, they're running riot, and they're trying to infiltrate. They try and turn your internal environment into somewhere that's much more pleasurable for them to live than you. They're Mother Nature's decomposers at the end of the day, and so if you don't listen to them, first of all, you get a little issue, which then turns into a chronic illness. If you still don't listen, it turns into a disease, and if you still don't listen, you die, because their job is to put you back into the ground and to make you useful for Mother Nature. This is what people don't understand. We think that we're above nature because we're human, and it's like slowly but surely people realising no, we are fully part of the natural life cycle. And this is why, I always say to people, when you're eating meat, for example, I mean, it's part of the process. You're not just killing an animal, and you're actually, it's becoming you, which is you need to understand, and you're filling your body with goodness. And the more we can do this, the more we can do it as well energetically. Like, stop consuming. I always say to people, this is why one of my programs, like, guys, turn the news off. You're just consuming toxic material, both visually and energetically. There, so you're doing it with food, you're doing it with your news, water, and everything. So it's just about, let's say, damage limitation and going out and being the best person, person you can be, being the healthiest you can be. It comes from, I mean, obviously, you live in a modern world, so you're going to be subjected to it. But if you can just almost like water your own grass. Forget what everyone else is doing, and just try and live the best life you can possible. And that's why I get people like yourself on. And as you said, I'm looking at. Unfortunately, I've got induction in my house. I want to change it over to gas, but there are things that you can use. I mean, ceramic to cook your food in is best, ceramic or glass, and if not, cast iron's a lot better than anything else. I mean, so you're looking into it, and it all makes a difference. And we say all these 1% add up to about 30-40% if you look at it, and make a big difference. So, Graham, this is just hang on the line, but I just want to say thanks for coming on and talking, and as we develop, as you develop, etc., we'll get you back on, and any questions we've got, etc., we'll go from there.
Thank you very much. Nice to speak to you.
Great. So, guys, that was the interview with Graham Brebner from Aquatiere. Hope you got a lot out of that. I know the water filtration part can be quite confusing, especially with lots of different units out there, but I'm going to have the 2 main units on the site. By the time this goes to air, it should be up. If it's not up, then hit me with a message at www.reviveyourself.co. Hit me up with a message at ryan@reviveyourself.co, and I'll be able to point you in the direction. But I do think they will be up by the time this goes to air, which is in a few weeks. So I'm just working out the finer details with Graham. But any questions you've got, also hit me up at ryan@reviveyourself.co about this, because it's going to be a huge part of your health arsenal, making sure you have clean water. Brilliant to get Graham on and just discuss all the different aspects of the filtration system of pure water, and what and how his filtration systems work, which is really important. So I'm glad we got him on, and I hope you enjoyed it as much as I did, because it was really good. Speaking to him, and we're getting back on in the future when, or if he comes up with something new, which I'm sure he will be doing. As always, guys, head on over to www.reviveyourself.co for any of our articles or any information. If you're dealing with any health issues, chronic health issues, we've got our free 4-day mini course there, and also you've got the contact link there. If you are struggling and you'd like some help, one-to-one help, we can put you through one of our programs, the holistic programs. We deal with all different chronic conditions, whether it be gut issues, skin issues, thyroid issues, adrenal fatigue, whether it be chronic fatigue or diabetes, whatever it is, we help that, and we do it completely holistically by working on not just nutrition, but we work on the mental, emotional aspect. We work on the spiritual aspect, the energetic aspect, and we go into everything that we can cover. Okay, and also we go into the physical aspect, which is important in terms of movement. So, guys, that's it for today's episode. Hope you enjoyed it as much as I did. As always, you can find us at, as I said before, www.reviveyourself.co, but also on Facebook at Facebook.com/Revive Natural Health, and at Instagram at Revive_yourself on Instagram. And I'll speak to you next week. I've got a couple of different options of which guest I'm going to go with. So it will be revealed to you when it's revealed. Okay, guys, as always, stay happy, stay healthy, and I'll speak to you soon. Bye-bye.
If you're struggling with gut issues, such as gas, bloating, constipation, diarrhea, indigestion, heartburn, and want to finally be able to eat the foods you love without the crippling after effects, then don't forget to head over to reviveyourself.co and pick up your free copy of The Healing Health Paradigm today.